Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States. And of course, good morning to the world receiving our signals via the magic of the internet. Folks, we're going to have a great program for you today. Folks, don't forget, keep the faith. Well, I don't like faith. Keep the power. Remember, you can assert your will, what needs to be done. But without further ado, let's pass it on to Los Genios, the two geniuses in the studio, Senora Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beba.
Well, I am certainly exerting my will over my body this morning because it wanted to sleep. And I will tell you that the crocodiles were in my eyes, that they just didn't want to open.
Man, I haven't heard that word. Crocodiles. That's what my daughter used to say when she wake up in the morning. Dad, I've got crocodiles in my eyes.
Yeah, well, I understand that because I got them this morning. It's just one of those days where it's cold and the dog left me alone, but the cat woke me up at about 10 minutes until 4 this morning. He's an old cat. He's 17. He's scrawny. He's lost a lot of weight. He's on his way out. So I've had him a long time. He's probably 18 years old.
What's his name?
Graceland.
Oh, wow.
I didn't name him.
Oh, okay.
My significant other at the time, who found him and brought him home, named him. He had been hit by a car, had a banged up leg, and she said, I just couldn't leave him in the street. And I said, all right. So 18 years later, I still have this cat.
So she was an Elvis Presley fan.
Yeah, she liked Elvis. Well, it is Friday, the 24th of January, 2025, just a couple of minutes after 6 o'clock, and Egberto says he has a great show for you. But I see that Jack has some wisdom here. We need to get to that because I have no wisdom because my brain's not working this morning.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I'm fine, Jack. Talk to me, my brother.
All right, this is your middle topic today. Trump's administration clamps down on the National Institute of Health, imposing restrictions like a communications pause. Why? What are they going to try to hide from us now? And a ban on travel. So they basically stuffed a rag in its mouth and chains on its feet. What's next for the NIH?
Well, this guy, we don't know what he's doing, and he doesn't either. He's just going around willy-nilly making these decisions. The National Health Institute, I think we should pay attention to what they're doing because it's the welfare. He's probably still mad about the COVID thing where he said, oh, it'll just go away. And after killing 500,000 people, it did go away for a while. But he botched that. So what do you expect? And people voted for this guy? I'm still in shock over this.
Yeah.
I still can't believe it. I go, what? Are you kidding me? And now this morning I saw him on TV. Well, 25% tariffs on all of our trade partners here in Canada and Mexico. Like, what is wrong with you, dude? You said you were going to lower prices. Of course you lied, but this is going to drive everything up. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's go ahead and get to your show, Egberto. We could be here speculating all day, but
yes,
we'll also have an answer.
Yeah, it's going to drive everything up. Yeah, you know what? But the truth of the matter, he doesn't care. He makes you believe that he cares and that he wants to drive prices down, etc. But you know what?
He never made me believe that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Lying from the start.
Look, high prices are good for the corporate structure. A lot of people always think, well, high prices, you reduce this and reduce that. Look, when you have inflation, right? And this is what a lot of people don't figure out. When you have inflation, it's a panacea for the producer in this regards.
The real price of oil hasn't changed. So therefore, if you get inflation, you get a high price for the product. People, because again, you have inflation, would normally buy less of that product, but you continue to make the same or more because the delta amount that you're making on the difference that you're making on that product, you're buying less resources, but you're selling, you're getting more money for less resources. That means that your resources last even longer for you to rip the people off. Inflation, as Richard Wolff, Richard Wolff is a great guy. I had two interviews with Richard Wolff yesterday. I'm going to play one probably on Monday. But Richard Wolff would come and tell you, look, inflation is one of those fake things. Yeah, there's supply and demand, but when it comes to things like oil, remember what they did to you. And, it irks me every time they blame the price of oil or inflation on Biden because it was a concerted effort by the oil industry to raise the prices of oil. And once the prices of oil is raised, transportation for your goods and services, meaning to get those eggs into your store, costs more money because the fuel that gets it there from the place that it's made all the way to your place costs more money. We continuously get conned. Once you increase the price of oil, the price of fertilizer goes up because again, that is an oil-based system. Therefore, the products in your grocery store gets higher. If you increase the price of oil, airline tickets get more expensive. All these things go up just from increasing the price of that one commodity. And the sad part about it is that one commodity, oil, the price increases are a matter of choice. I mean, when the angst that you felt for Biden, those who did, the people who were mad at Biden because of inflation should simply look at every oil company that they know and ask, why is it that a resource that you just go into the ground and tap and pull out? And look, I know about deep sea drilling and I know about all of that stuff, okay? And then the pricing involved, etc. But never was the price of oil required to go up. In fact, right after the pandemic, let's be clear what happened. Right after the pandemic, when we had again, the things were filled with oil, and the oil companies were panicking to such a point that they had no place to store the oil that they had already bought from producers, and they were just, I mean, from the drillers, etc. They were giving away oil for a while, so they wanted to recover a whole lot of that, and they told Saudi Arabia, take 2 million barrels of oil off the market. I want you guys to think about this. The prices go up when there's shortages, but you have a surplus of oil. So much so that you're asking Saudi Arabia to take 2 million barrels of oil per day off the market. And everybody suffered from what that did throughout the economy. And then the mainstream media, instead of telling the American people, look, if you believe in this supply and demand type of capitalist structure, you should also prevent false shortages, meaning holding back oil just so that the prices go up, which then permeates itself through the entire economy and causes your prices to rise. Why are you mad at those who are trying to institute policies to stop oil companies from the ability to do those things, but you hold the oil company in high regards I'm talking, when I talk about oil companies, I'm not only talking about oil companies, I'm talking about investment institutions and all these different organizations that advise these oil companies to do these things to maximize their profits. And you paid for it all. You paid for it all. And then they said, hey, look at Biden. Under Biden, inflation started out high, without telling you the reason inflation is high is not only this supply chain problem, by the way, which the corporations are also responsible for. When they decided that not to pay the American employees, they went ahead and built stuff overseas and then have to ship it back in. And when you have a disruption with COVID and hurricanes and all of that, that disruption means that if you don't have inventory in the United States, if you draw down the small inventory in the United States in the stores, of course prices are going to go up because you have a shortage of items because they're not coming over the ocean. But who did that? Corporations did that because they wanted to maximize profits for their shareholders and bonuses for their executives, not for you. And then you get mad at the politicians who say, let's create regulations to prevent them from doing this. You get mad. I'm not talking about you, the ones who are progressive and understand how things work. I'm talking about the ones who have this false blame that they put on others. In this economy, it's not that I am hard on corporations. It's that the economic system dictate that corporations screw you. Because by definition, their first purpose is to maximize profits for their shareholders. In other words, maximize profits for the people who enslave you, who don't do anything. The person who owned all these shares, and if you have some shares in your stock option or shares in your retirement, don't think you're one of these great shareholders that, oh, that'll affect me, because most of the kind of wealth we're talking about, those people who own the real quantities of shares. Make whatever you have. $1 million do you have in your shareholding? A couple millions, 3 million, 100,000? To these guys, that's peanuts. The kind of wealth we are talking about that is screwing us all is massive. It is massive. The wealthy people that's walking around, you don't even know who they are. Yeah, you know Elon Musk and Bill Gates and a few. But if you're walking around Houston, Texas, and you're going into River Oaks, and each one of those mansions in River Oaks, and you don't know what they're doing in the background there. But let me tell you, there's a kind of obscene wealth from people who do very little, but just are able to maximize capital because they find capitalism gives you the method to parasitically take it away from others, and it does it in an abstractive way. When we talk about abstraction, that's what our economic system is capable and knows how to do well. Abstract thievery, abstract wealth, abstract all these things so that you don't quite know what's happening. Donald Trump is put a coin on the market, and he's worth several $billions from putting a cryptocurrency out. If you want to know if an economic system is a fraud, that's all you need to know. Cryptocurrency. What is it based on? That's not my topic for today, but Jack has a way of saying a few words that puts me into this modal. But suffice it to say, folks, inflation is a choice of your corporations. Those who think there's a specific mechanism for inflation, as you see on CNBC, that is part of our indoctrination. Corporations have the choice of having inflation or not. I know people want to put all kind of economic theories onto it, but they decide how much the parasites are going to get, shareholders are going to get. They decide that. They decide how much free money they want. And I want to put a challenge out there. I want any capitalist economist that may be listening, I hope, to give me a call right now. Let's talk about it. Put a hole in my in that. What I'm saying is not a theory; it's a fact. Come on, give me a call, economist or professor of economics. Give me a call, please. Please give me a call because a lot of you would like to. What you're teaching your kids in business schools is not science. It's an indoctrination of a model created to enrich a few. And I'd like to go over it. I mean, you're going to use all kind of theories of marginal propensity and all these kind of things. Give me a call. Let's talk about it so our audience can hear it and be educated on real economic theories. All right, let's go to Nancy. Come on in, Nancy. Okay, yeah, Nancy, you're on.
Okay. Hi, thanks. Tomorrow, Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Time and 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Pacific, there will be a town hall meeting of Pacifica people from the affiliates, from the 5 stations that are interested in having breakout groups to discuss how to meet the threat of Project 2025, which says the word, cutting funding to CPB and Pacifica. And we need input, and we're going to be doing monthly. So we have invited
Get out of this as quick as possible.
Pacifica, Stephanie Wells, and she has agreed to come. She can't come tomorrow, but she's going to come to maybe from the February meeting and make a statement. This is a threat, and so we were urged by a affiliate station in Kansas to please, organize this. So if you want to come and put your input in, because this is a threat to the threat of HR 9594 that passed the House, gives the arbitrary decision by the Secretary of Treasury to cancel the tax
Nancy,
exemption.
what time? Nancy, give me the time real quick, and then we need to move on real quick.
Yeah, tax exemption. That means us, that are perceived to be supporting terrorism. It is 6 p.m. and you go to pacificafightback.org to
Thank you.
register. pacificafightback.org to register. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. All right. Let me just say one thing on as far as terrorism and radio stations and other nonprofits. There are a lot of techniques that have the semblance of legality that the Trump administration is going to use to come after progressive groups and come after folks that they don't like and come after folks in the attempt to destabilize themselves into some sort of a permanency. And we have to be working. In fact, one of the topics that I'm covering today is going to be from Robert Reich, who talk about the 10 things that we all need to be doing right now. But before I get to that, let's go ahead and go to Harry. Come on in, Harry.
Police fairness, Brother Egberto. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jack. Brother, you're correct about the economics that you talk about on this show. All I was going to say is, it's in the news again that Trump is wanting to bully all these other countries, saying, make your product here, or he's threatening to put tariffs, and as Howard mentioned earlier, what's going to happen is that's going to cause inflation. It's just going to drive inflation up if he does that. Well, I will throw President Trump a bone. I'll even though we bash him a lot, I'll throw him a bone because I did like what he did last night as far as Dr. King's assassination and JFK and Robert Kennedy's assassination. We know a lot of what happened there, but he's released all those classified documents for the public to know. And I did hear something a few hours ago. They said that he wanted to do it when he was president the last time, but for security reasons, he was talked out of it. So I'll give him that, because as far as I was talking to my friend from Florida who called you, and I'm glad you were able to talk to him. He still thinks that Trump is going to do a lot of great things, and I've pretty much told him, as far as I can see right now, Trump has failed on a lot of things thus far.
Harry,
Taking us out of the WHO. And
do you know if he listen? Harry, do you know if he listens to the show,
Right.
or did he just listen to it that day for you?
He's told me that he was going to call on, like he told you, he was going to call on inauguration day. And when I
Okay.
talked to him yesterday, he said he would call you again. I said you need to call him, because he will help you with what Donald Trump really is.
Here's why I
because
ask you that. Here's why I ask you this, Harry. Harry, not to cut. I need to cut you. I need to cut you off a bit here because we got to move on. But I want to ask you something.
Right.
I want to use him as a test case as far as Magamania. Okay. If he gets up at 7 o'clock, which is because I think he's on the East Coast, I
He's
tell
in,
him
Florida.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell him I want to use him as a test case. I want him to listen to the show continuously as much as he can, because and tell him and be upfront. Tell him I want to use him as an experiment. Okay.
I will do that, and I'll tell him to call you again, because I told him that yesterday. You should call me. He's encouraging you to call him, because he wants to try to teach you some things about what.
Well, I won't say teach. I don't want to. I don't want to sound presumptuous. I just want to say we want to dialogue. Okay. Hey, but Harry, I want to move on. So give me a quick one. I gotta go.
Okay, well, I'm just, like I said, I'm glad that Trump did that with Dr. King assassination and JFK and Robert Kennedy, and we just have to continue to fight. We have to get ready for the midterms and try to get the House back. There's going to be a lot of seats up for the House, and then in 4 years.
All right, thank you, my brother. Gotta go. All right, look, let me tell you what I really want to talk about. Robert Reich came out with a piece yesterday that I really enjoyed, and the title of the piece was "Topics." Oops, I have the wrong page up. Let me get to Brother Reich. Was 10 concrete things you can do to resist Trump number 2. Meaning the second iteration of Trump. But before I get there, and by the way, folks, after I do this, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738, extension number 2. Of course, it's extension number 1 if you want to support the program and keep us on air. But before I get into the program, I want to remind folks that sometimes Trump forgets the audience that he's talking to. When he goes and speak to MAGA land, those folks that consider themselves his MAGA cult, or whatever you want to call yourself, many of these people, he is able to shunt their thinking process to just accept what he says. But he didn't go directly. He didn't go to Davos, but he went on a teleconference call at Davos yesterday. And it brought back all the memories of embarrassment many of us feel when he becomes the representative for us as Americans, not only in Europe, but in Central America and across the world. Because the world has to say, how did America elect someone so dumb? I watched his talk to the bankers and all these big players on the market. And I'm not into bankers or any of that, but they know their stuff as well, some stuff. And he started to talk about tariffs, and he started to admonish these countries, right? Saying, look, we are open. We are going to kill regulations, right? we're going to get rid of all the regulations. And the problem with Europe is a regulatory state, and it's so hard to create this in Europe because it's a regulatory state, etc., etc., etc. And that's true. Europe has a lot more regulations than we do. Europe doesn't allow you to use red dye that causes cancer in your foods. We do. That red dye number 2 in your food that finally we're going to eventually get rid of was made out of a precursor of oil. We can't use certain kinds of genetically modified foods that are not tested, that are not proved to be safe for people. We throw things on the market, and if people get sick on it, the corporations make a calculation. How much would a suit call us? But how much are we making? As you can see, the drug company, can't remember the name of it yesterday, settled for an extra $1 billion with all the people that OD'd on fentanyl, etc. I think it's going to cost them $8 or $9 billion. Chump change for them. In America, we leverage your life for money. In other words, before a company takes something off the market, they figure how many people is it going to kill, and how much killing those people are going to cost us. And if we make more profit than the people the people dying, let's let the people die. That is what a soulless economic system looks like. That is how a soulless economic system operates. So we go around the world talking about we have the best economy. And I've said it too. Yeah, economically speaking, Biden followed the American economic rules. And in doing so, he was steward of the best economic numbers from any other country in the OECD or around the world, following our economic system. That's what he did. Paid the price for it. Now we have likely the most ill-informed person governing America now. And he goes to Davos and he says, you guys need to fix your okay, they're not listening to that. Their people won't allow them to pollute the rains or all their rivers that they've learned their lessons from the past. But he's also telling them, come, if you don't want to pay tariff in the United States, come manufacture in the United States. Of course, we know that Biden brought back a lot of manufacturing with the CHIPS Act and other programs that pretty much paid private corporations with public dollars to incentivize them to come back to the United States. I think that sounds like corporate socialism, isn't it? You know, we don't want socialism for the few. We don't want progressive things for the few, but we'll take corporate socialism like that. So Biden did it, and he brought these things back. Now Trump is trying to tell these guys now, okay, and you come into our country now, that's a way to avoid tariffs. But you know what he's not saying? He's not saying American companies who, to save money, build their products overseas, stop doing that. Yeah, is he saying that there are going to be tariffs to come in? Of course he is. But you know what? Why do you think Musk and all these other guys are next to him? Because there will be exceptions for them. So when in the old days that I brought in sea mosses and other things from Taiwan, yeah, I'm the little guy. I'll pay tariffs on it. But you think Musk and all these guys are going to? But anyway, he goes and then he tells these bankers, if you guys don't build it, then you're going to pay a tariff when you come into the United States. I could see the smirk on their faces as is, no, if we don't build over there and you still want our products, your people are going to pay more for the products. Your MAGA land's going to pay the price for bringing our product in. You see all those cheap stuff in Walmart right now that MAGA land buys? Because again, If you go to Walmart, most of what you buy in Walmart is in China. And if you put these tariffs on China, guess who pays it? You don't find the folks who live in River Oaks or the folks who live in New York City in a skyscraper shopping at Walmart. Magaland shops at Walmart. So who you think's going to pay the tariffs? The same people that put you into office. And they take it and they take it. Patrick, come on in.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, brother. Talk to me.
I'm going to be a little redundant. We brought up tariffs before, and I've brought up he's trying to make it look like he's strong arming these people into bringing jobs over here, but that's not it at all. The amount of time it'll take for these countries to build a factory, and it'll cost less just to pay for us to pay a tariff than them to build a factory. But the amount of time it'll take for them to build a factory will probably exceed the amount of time Trump is alive. These factories don't go up overnight. They don't go up in a year. Sometimes they take years and years. There's permitting. There's cooling systems. There's emissions that they need to pass, multiple inspections. And even if we said, oh, we don't need the inspections or anything, and what that would mean is that, we're getting manufacturing over here, but then we're also going to be breathing in the entire world's emissions from production, which isn't good. A lot of countries don't like production of some items because how poisonous it is to their environment. Another thing to consider. But he's got people telling him that none of this is going to work out, but he's telling it to everybody else because he thinks it's going to make him popular. He's got a very big ego, and that's what we're feeding right now. It's something to consider. And whenever these tariffs do go into effect, the quality of domestic products drop, and the price of domestic products go up because there's no competition. So something to look forward to. Everybody that's excited about this. It's not going to be good for anybody.
There's another thing that I want to add to that, to what you're saying, and because what happens as well is, I actually think to some extent this guy actually, some people just believe things whether they're true or not, and I have the slight suspicion that this guy believes that these tariffs are going to bring him enough money into the national coffers to actually allow him to make some money. I mean, to bring some money in and give those tax breaks that he's given. Because, if you listen to what Tom Hartman pointed out that before the crash in 1930, one of the things that America raised its money on are in fact tariffs. But those were different times, and that's what a lot of folks don't quite understand. But I agree with you. The ones who are going, go ahead.
Sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you, but one of the big differences is when we started the Tax Act, approximately 95% of the workforce was private. And I think that whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, you're not going to change it overnight. Government employs about 50% of people. Government's not going to be the source of income through tariffs. It doesn't work that way.
I agree with you.
We left that system. Yeah, we left that system because of how inefficient it was at raising money. But what we see right now is we weren't raising money because we weren't taxing the rich. So to pay for what the rich wouldn't pay for, we've been borrowing. But now we've made ourselves such a difficult country to deal with in the past 10 years. Everybody wants to stay away from us. So Japan and China, the people that have been lending us money, my understanding is they're starting to sell that off. And if they're selling off debt, they're not going to be accumulating anymore. So that we can no longer borrow to pay for the rich's half. They're trying to tax us on it through the tariffs. You're 100% correct.
You're correct. And let me tell you what I learned yesterday. And I think you I don't. Were you on the 3 o'clock show yesterday?
Yeah, I watched that video twice yesterday. Once before the 3 o'clock show, and then once at
You're
three
talking
o'clock.
about the one from Dr. Professor Richard Wolff, right?
Yeah, he's touring with that speaker with that right now.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what's interesting with what Dr. Wolff was talking about yesterday. I had not realized, in fact, I didn't know. I knew in the past, when BRICS was just coming up, I knew that the BRICS countries didn't add up to then at that time, I think it was called the G8, that because Russia was a part of it, didn't add up to the total amount of GDP as the G7 now. Well, I learned yesterday from Dr. Richard Wolff that the BRICS countries, their GDP is substantially larger than that of the G7. And that means a lot. Uh, and, we don't talk about that here in the United States. That means a lot. I'm not talking about a little bit more. I'm talking about at least 30% more the BRICS country compared to the G7. And that is something that will come back and bite us when it comes to the clout that we have economically around the world. And China and others are displaying that. When you hear Donald Trump talk about Panama and China and Panama, that we know the biggest fear with him and Panama is that Panama is charging him with tax evasion with his Trump his management companies in Panama. We know that's the reason he has a vendetta against Panama. But also, when they look around Central America and Jamaica and all these places, what they see is China investing in all these other countries, and we are building bombs. You know, that's not how go ahead.
We're alienating the people that used to buy those from us. So we're not going to have a market very soon.
Yeah.
When you leave NATO and you're talking about leaving these coalitions were funding our stock market. And if we don't sell movie tickets or a dinner out, the only other thing we sell pretty much nowadays is weaponry, and we're about to alienate all of those consumers. They're going to get it from us.
It's funny. And again, that is all leadership. I mean, we were turning a lot of that around. If you take a look at, look, I don't, the Biden Israel Gaza policy was horrendous, immoral, inhumane. But when it comes to trying to revitalize America as to keep its economic engine going, we needed to do a lot of social things that have yet to be done, but that he started to recover from. But Madre Mia, we are right back in the doldrums with Trump again. And the sad part, it's going to be putting us 4 years behind, which means China and Brazil and all these countries are going to be 4 years further ahead. And they'll hate the tariffs and they'll hate all these things, but what it's going to do is make them stronger. You hear the EU talking about a world without United States support. One of the reasons we have power is we were there to support, right? You gain power by being the daddy. You gain power by being the mommy. In other words, if people know that they're going to count on you, of course you're going to have a certain amount of power. When you leave people to their own device, eventually you're devised out. That is what's becoming the reality. Close her out for me, Patrick.
Yeah, I was going to point out we used to have a relationship with the EU, which is what you're saying. Now the EU is willing to go outside of Europe to take in Canada. Indonesia just joined the BRICS, which BRICS is getting. That was 300 million people just joined BRICS last week, and that didn't hit the newspaper. That should startle us. But I'll leave it at that. I mean, we're in the middle of economic warfare. We don't even understand that, and we're going to lose.
It's amazing that I'm glad you said something very important. You said, in fact, you taught me that yeah, I do remember you being there at 3. You are the one who first taught me about the Indonesia joining BRICS because I hadn't yet seen it. And you came on the chat and you said, "Guess what? Indonesia just joined BRICS." And I'm like, "What? Oh my God. Yeah." So now we got India and China, the 2 most populous countries in the world. Indonesia, probably one of the top 5 or 6 most populous countries in the world, right? Come on, man. We need leadership and we don't have it. We are only 4.5% of the population, folks. If you think 95% of the world is going to stay subservient, you have another thought coming. We have to learn how to live, adapt, and be a part of the world. Anything else, Patrick?
No, sir. Be kind to others.
Thank you. Be kind. Have a good one, brother. Anyway, folks, real telephone number 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Please don't wait till the end to call. Call in if you want to say something something to add to the show. Now, Robert Reich, my keyboard stopped working and all these systems are interconnected. So I'm working solely with my mouse and I hope that works right. But anyway, Robert Reich came out with an article yesterday called 10 Concrete Things You Can Do to Resist Trump #2, meaning Trump second edition. And I want to start by telling everybody I speak to too many people who are disillusioned. There are people who tell me they don't listen to news anymore. I got a thing that made me feel good yesterday. A lady sent me an email yesterday saying she can't stomach listening to either progressive or right wing news, but she makes sure and reads our newsletter every day. I mean that was like manna from heaven. That just made me melt. But thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. But anyway, and by the way, for those who are chatting right now, I can't see your chat because my keyboard is not working and I can't get to the chat screen. So forgive me. I'm not just ignoring you. So anyhow, this is what Robert Wright says. He has 10 things that we need to do. Protect the decent, hard-working members of your community who are undocumented or whose parents are undocumented. This is an urgent moral call to action. As US President Donald Trump's ICE begins roundup and deportations, many good people are endangered and understandably frightened. One of Trump's executive orders allow ICE to arrest undocumented immigrants at or near schools, places of worship, healthcare sites, shelters, and relief centers, thereby deterring them from sending their kids to school or getting the help they need. So-called sanctuary cities and states have laws prohibiting their schools, public hospitals, and police from turning over undocumented individuals to the federal government or providing information about them. Be a part of the solutions. Protect your fellow human. Protect your fellow human. Item number 2, protect LGBTQ members of your community. Trump may make life far more difficult for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and other people through executive orders, changes in laws, alterations in civil rights, and change in how such laws are enforced. Be sure to be there for them. Just making sure that they know they're loved, not just by you, but that Trump is not representative of how we all feel. Help protect officials in your community or state whom Trump and his administration are targeting for vengeance. Trump is claiming that anybody who doesn't help him with his evil deeds on immigrants and others will be incarcerated or will be prosecuted. He has already given the order to the Justice Department. We have to be there for them. Just like Neil Aquino yesterday said, we need to protect those activists and be there for those activists who are working on our behalves, like we had Ms. Sarah Terrell who definitely did the right thing at the HISD illegal, not illegal, but immoral meeting, unelected board meeting. That's what we got to do. Terrence, I'm coming to you in a minute. Number 4, participate or organize boycotts of companies that are enabling the Trump regime, starting with Elon Musk's X and Tesla, and any companies that advertise on X or Fox News. It is time for us to exert, since we are, in fact, an economic engine, a capitalist country, let's do what we need to do to make sure those labels that are working against humanity, we do not support. Let them pay in their pocketbooks. Number 5, the extent you're able to fund groups that are litigating against Trump. If you have $1, if you have $2, to these organizations like the American Civil Liberties Union, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics, Center for Biological Diversity, Environmental Defense Fund, Southern Poverty Law Center, Common Cause, and of course, I must mention, and the KPFT. Support these organizations that are out there ready to support freedom, ready to support democracy, ready to support your rights. All right, I'm going to stop at 5 and go to Terrence, and then I'll continue. Terrence, come on in.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
I called in here a few times and predicted that Trump would lose, and he didn't.
You don't have to feel bad about it. I made a complete fool of myself because I just thought I understood the American psyche better than I did. So, I mean, a lot of us can't believe it either, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay, well, it's just like William Shakespeare said that what fools these mortals be.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, anyways, what I want to talk about with this business of Mr. Trump, he wants to get rid of these birthright citizenship, right?
Yes.
In the Constitution. He wants to get rid of that. Well, look, today they're going to get rid of birthright citizenship, and tomorrow they're going to get rid of guns.
Never.
Take our guns from us. This son of a bitch is going to take our fucking guns from us.
Oh, can't cuss, sir. Can't cuss. I hope you got that beeped out. Go ahead.
Again, I'll just repeat it again. Today, he's taking the birthright citizenship. Tomorrow, he'll be taking our guns. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Terrence. Anyway, birthright citizens hits me dearly, right? Because in as much as I came over here following the rules, I am a naturalized citizen. And if that clause in the 14th Amendment, if the Supreme Court were to allow Donald Trump to mess with that clause, that is in pretty tight English, every naturalized American citizen is at risk. Every single naturalized American citizen is at risk. Don't ever believe you're not. All right, number 6, spread the truth. Get news through reliable sources and spread it. If you hear anyone spreading lies and Trump propaganda, including local media, contradict them with the facts and their sources. One of the reasons when I get callers call in here and lie, misinform, or even if they're doing it being ill-informed or misinformed or disinformed from another source, I stop it right away because we don't allow on this program the American airwaves. This airwaves doesn't belong to KPFT or myself or Howard or Jack. These are airwaves belong to all of us, and we should not use it as a conduit to lie to you so that you can be ill-informed and make bad decisions like electing a president that is going to push us back. That's what we did. Our airwaves, our social media, which I believe right now should now become a utility, we allowed that to mess with enough people's minds that made a lot of people stay home and allowed a thug, a criminal, a convicted felon to become the president of this country. So places like Democracy Now, Business Insider, The New Yorker, The American Prospect, The Atlantic, Americans for Tax Fairness, Economic Policy Institute, Center on Budget, Policy Priorities, The Guardian, ProPublica, Labor Notes, The Lever, Popular Information, Heather Cox Richardson, the Robert Reich Substack, my Substack, which is Egberto Off the Record, uh, KPFT, the Progressive Forum right here on KPFT, and several other programs here on KPFT that doesn't come to mind right now that are giving you truthful information. That should be our news sources, not the Fox Newses, not the just hit a blank, but you understand what I'm saying. All right, Brian, come on in.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Okay. You know or heard of Barbara Jordan, right?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. She was a representative here in Houston. She grew up in segregation. Have you read her policy and Bill Clinton's policy on immigration control?
No, I have not.
Well, you really should, because it's about as harsh as what President Trump is doing right now today.
All right.
You
Given
should
that
read
I
it.
haven't, given that I haven't read, let me back up. Let me just say this. Given that I haven't read either Clinton or Jordan, I can't answer that specifically. But what I can tell you is if Jordan and Clinton had the same type of policies as Donald Trump, I would be just as harsh on Jordan and Clinton, because for me this is not an ideological game. This is not a political party game. This is a humanity game. And anybody that's instituting the policies as Donald Trump is instituting is inhumane. And if that is what Barbara Jordan and Clinton were doing, those policies would be just as inhumane as it is for Mr. Trump. So let me be clear here. I don't sit
President
down and
Trump.
I'm
It's
not done.
President Trump.
I am not done, sir. I
Not
am going
done.
to be
It's
very
President
clear
Trump now.
here. I am not, I'll be very clear. It doesn't matter who institutes inhumane policies. We should call out inhumane policies no matter what. You may continue, sir.
It is President Trump now. Don't call him Mr. Trump or
Are
Trump.
you done, Mr.
President of the United States of the.
Sir?
I'm not. I'm
Uh,
not.
Mr. Trump,
Why do you
as I
continue to
said,
interrupt me?
finish your
Why
finish
do
your
you
thought,
continue
sir.
to interrupt me?
Finish your thought.
Okay, you're an immigrant. Are you an immigrant from this country?
I'm an immigrant to this country,
You're
yes.
an immigrant. Okay, you wrote a book about how bad our economic system is about this country.
Yes. No, I didn't. That's not what the book is about, but that's your characterization. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So basically, you hate this country, correct? Yes or
I
no?
am going to. No, that's a silly statement because I've made myself clear not only in my words but in my books. You don't
Did you
hate
make
the
a
country
profit?
that
Did you
you
make a
live in.
profit?
Have a
Did
great
you make
day,
a
Brian. Have a great day, sir. Let's go to Eddie. Eddie, come on in.
Good morning, guys. Hey, you said something that bothered me a little bit. You said that you were talking about the BRIC countries and that we're 4.5% of the population and we need to learn to live within the world. And I don't agree with that. I think the world should bend to our agenda. We're the United States of America. We deserve more respect from the world.
And why is that again, sir?
Why shouldn't it be? Just because we're only 4.5%, we shouldn't have a bigger stance?
And I know you're being facetious. I love your. I mean, you actually. At first, I was actually thinking you were serious. All right, make your point, my brother.
Well, you said that we shouldn't because we're a small minority and we need to learn to adapt.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's not adapting to the world. It's being a part of the world. In other words, not to sit back there and think that we are some exceptional country when 95%, assuming that 95% of the rest aren't.
Okay, so when the transgender groups say we need to demand to bend to their agenda and believe what they believe, and call a dude trying to pass himself as a woman as call her
Can
a
I
woman.
ask you a question? Why are you? First of all, that's not what transgender folks are saying at all. That's your characterization of what they're saying. What transgenders are saying is, I want to live and exist just like anybody else. That's all. They're not asking for anything more than anybody else is asking for. They're saying, and this is where it comes in. I mean, that's the same argument being used against transgenders, or the arguments that have been used against blacks. It's the argument that's been used against Asians, etc. All people are saying is as follows, Eddie. I want to walk into a room, Eddie. Are you a white guy?
Does it matter?
Yes, it does. Are you a white guy or not?
I'm Jewish.
Okay. Are you a white Jewish guy or not?
I don't know if I would pass myself off as white, but I'm Jewish.
Okay, I'll based on your context, I'll assume that you're white. I want to go into a room and be. Let me finish my point, sir. I want to go into a room and feel just as not necessarily welcome, because I can't force folks to welcome, but but know that I am going to have the same rights as you do. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less.
In the same way you just defined me as white by listening to my voice.
No, that's not white. No, I defined you as white based on the characterization of what you said. Okay, not your voice. Because if you listen to my daughter speak, people would characterize her as saying, "Oh, I didn't realize she was a black Latina girl." Okay, so no, I don't. You can't listen to voice and assume too much. Go ahead.
So when I walk into a room and I see someone across the room and I make an assumption about their gender and I get that wrong, I get yelled at. I get accused of being transphobic or whatever that is.
Okay, let me just say that that's wrong. Okay, I mean, you brought up an important point, right? If somebody's transgender, right, but present themselves. Oh, I gotta go. I'm sorry, we're at 57. I tell you what, call back, Eddie, because you brought up an important point that I'd like to discuss. Call back tomorrow. We'll talk about it. All right.
Will do. Bye-bye.
All right, studio, real quick.
Oh, nothing here. Wrap it up.
All right, folks, thank you so kindly. Love you all. Remember, the rest of the show is at politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto. Willies, this is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
Support for this show, Politics and Right, comes from politicsandright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.